My name is Steve, the Affordable Life Coach. If you are interested in a complimentary consultation with no obligation and then ridiculously affordable coaching sessions afterwards, email me. It's in the description. I've been doing this 13 and a half years now, and man, do you learn a lot when you see things play out in the real world. And I think that's one of the real blessings that I have in my career is to be able to see human nature in action, to be able to see what brings people life satisfaction, what makes people miserable, what makes people suffer, what makes people unhappy, what brings people fulfillment and joy and purpose. And when we're younger, we don't realize that the things that we've been conditioned to chase are foolish. They are, in the long term, not going to fill that spiritual void that we all have. And I hope, especially young people, but even people, older people, I hope they really pay attention to this message that we are perpetually, as a culture, you just even humans as a species, as a race, as a people. Why do you ever ask yourself, why is there so much misery, suffering, unhappiness, discontentment? Even when people accomplish what they seek out in life. And when I was younger, I wanted to be the next Tony Robbins. I went to seminars, I even gave seminars, and I chased fame and I chased money and I chased all the things that at the time just seemed normal. That's what everybody did to one degree or another. They chase things that are going to make them feel good about themselves. And do you ever ask yourself, why do we feel so badly about ourselves? Why do we need to cover up our low self-worth with lipstick, with sugar coating, with fancy gift paper wrapping? Because we don't like what is inside of us. And we want to overcome that through something external. And you just see it never permanently works. You get a sense of a temporary bump in satisfaction at accomplishing something or succeeding at something or meeting someone new and exciting, and if you're single, in a relationship, or getting a promotion. But it's all so short-lived and shallow. And the things that we chase serve the greater purpose of the machine, of the matrix, or whatever you want to call it. We're conditioned to be perpetually unfulfilled. We are constantly seeking to change ourselves, to improve ourselves, to grow, to evolve, to become someone different, to become someone better, to become more successful, to become more adored, admired, to become appreciated, to appear wiser and smarter amongst our peers. And it's exhausting. And you don't realize it when you're young, because when you're young, you have a lot of energy. But as you get older, you realize, not everybody realizes this, believe me. But hopefully, if you've been watching my videos long enough, you've been exposed to this type of critical thinking. You just realize what's the point? And I even have some clients that will say that, like, yeah, I go to work, I have a decent job, I have my health, I have hobbies. I have things that, to do and things that temporarily or short-term fulfill me. But what's it all for? What's the point? What is it that we're all chasing? And I've realized, and you could see kind of the shift in the tone in my videos, it's a spiritual healing that we are all seeking. We are all trying to overcome our sinful nature. And people say, "Oh, I'm not." Everybody thinks, "Oh, I'm a good person. I'm not a sinner." By whose standards? You're basing it on your standards. What are God's standards? And where and how does He let us know what His standards are? And people just invent things. They just want to believe things that will affirm what they currently do, or things that will not restrict them from doing things that cause, either consciously or unconsciously, guilt and shame. And that's a big part of why we feel badly about ourselves, because we're directionless, we're purposeless, we don't have guidance, and so we fall prey to predators that want something from us, even if it's just obedience and control and our time, money, and energy, our financial resources. And so we have no mooring, we have no anchor, and so it's so easy to get swept up in this worldly, godless system that we live in that doesn't have our best interests at heart, and that wants to further take us down the road of consumerism, materialism, hypersexualism, superficiality and superficial living, escapism, addiction, conformity, people-pleasing, anxiety, fear, stress, worry, overworking ourselves, and just an underlying current of apathy, melancholy, with some bright spots, some joys, some victories, some things that make us feel happy. But overall, most people are just kind of grinding out a living, grinding out a life, and lost, because we've lost connection with God. And when we lose connection with God, we gravitate towards more depraved way of living, more sheepish type of living, more fear-based type of living, more approval-seeking type of living, and more escapism. And no matter how this is presented to people, and even you watching this video, the wall is probably already slowly coming up, and oh God, what's he talking about? Is he one of these crazy Christian guys? Is he one of these people that believes God left us a manual on how to live our lives? Does he believe that we can't have a fulfilling life without having a relationship with God? And the defenses go up, because it means that we're no longer free and able to just indulge our short-term gratifications, our short-term pleasures, feed our addictions, overload our senses. And we're just we reap the consequences of that lifestyle. And it's been a big wake-up call the last 3-4 years, seeing what's happened just worldwide and how things seem to get more divisive, more toxic, more evil, and more unhappy. If this was the path, the path that most people live on, the conformist, consumerist, traditional, and traditional I mean by modern standards of being on their phones. I was at the gym and I'm trying to relax in the sauna, and there's like 5 people there. Let's see the one. 5 people, 6 including me. 4 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6 are on their phones, and we just are constantly numbing ourselves out. And we have to ask why. Why are we constantly numbing ourselves out? Because God gave us a conscience. God gave us an ability to know what's right and wrong and know how to live a life that it's not restrictive, it's actually fulfilling, that will make us whole, that will make us in alignment with His will. We're so out of alignment with His will, and we're so out of alignment with applying that in our relationships. And like love is lost. It's like hate gets stirred up and fomented and fostered. And why can't people just sit in a sauna? It's like my only or one of my only joys of going to the gym. I enjoy working out, but man, I really look forward to that time of just it's unplugged, and it's a time to just be still. It's a time to relax. And it's almost like a punishment for most people to just be unplugged and sit still and ask yourself why. And it's because we are off course, because we're spiritually disconnected, and because we have an accumulation of shame, guilt, because of sin. And we can't do that on our own. We don't have the natural tendency to be loving, kind, and gentle with people. In the world and in our interactions, you just hear there's just so much fighting and arguing and gossiping and backstabbing and lying and people not keeping their word. And that takes a spiritual toll on a person. And if you don't turn to God, the only real antidote is escape, is numb out, is distract yourself or feed your addictions. And it's such a sad testimony that the solution people turn to is, or one of the first solutions people turn to is, I have a chemical imbalance. I'm going to take something to numb myself out. And sometimes, again, you need to consult your doctor. Sometimes, in rare cases, it is necessary. But I read a book, and it was written by a psychiatrist, and he just talked about like normal things have now become pathologized. And we're so conditioned to put a label on ourselves which addresses the symptom instead of looking at what is the core underlying root cause. And we're, as a culture, as a society, as a human beings, we're spiritually ill. We have spiritual malady. And all the chasing that you do of external things, or feeding your ego, or doing things that give you a temporary sense of accomplishment or satisfaction or adoration from other people, it's like a cloud. It's a vapor. It's going to come and go. And then we just go, okay, maybe it's something else. And then it's something else. And we don't have guidelines, rules that serve us, that protect us. Like, when we're growing up, our parents give us rules for our benefit, even though we want to rebel against those rules. And when we do rebel, oftentimes we do pay the price. Whether it's, teen pregnancy or getting addicted to drugs or alcohol or not doing well in school, like we're just have this rebellious nature. And I'm sure many of you listening to this video are rebelling against the words that I'm saying. And I just ask you, let down the guard, open your heart and open your mind, and ask yourself, is the life that I'm living, is it meaningful? Is it purposeful? Is it in alignment with something much bigger than me? Or am I just going with the flow, going with the rest of the sheep, the rest of the herd? And once you start cleaning up your life, you start feeling a sense of peace. When you start cleaning the sin out of your life, you start feeling a sense of peace because you're not at war with God anymore. But we can't do that on our own power. We're living in a fallen world. And I know that atheists are probably getting riled up with a video like this. But just consider it. You don't have to agree with me, but just crack that door open a little bit and say, if a godless world and a godless culture and a predominantly godless society is so good, why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much pain? Why is there so much hate? And why is there so much crime? And why is there so much political division? And why are we now labeled by our pigmentation instead of the character of our heart and living a godly life? Everything has gotten turned upside down, and it makes no sense. If this worked, why are things so dysfunctional? And you could put your comments, please put your comments in, whether you agree or disagree, within this video. But something's really off, and it's only progressively getting worse. When you're young, you don't know what things used to be like. And unless you talk to your parents or your grandparents, and you really get to see, the older you get, the trajectory of culture, the trajectory of society, the trajectory of politics, the trajectory of human nature. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And we always want to put the blame on someone else instead of looking at ourselves in the mirror or looking at the political turmoil and going, the political turmoil and the divisions between people, it's a spiritual problem and spiritual solution. And it starts with us. And without this approach, we're headed for very, very dark times. And we're following people that don't have our best interests. And we're following media that don't have our best interests, even social media. We have been manipulated and controlled, and we become puppets dancing to what they want us to do and what is going to best serve their agenda, not ours. And that's what happens when you have no spiritual anchor. spiritual compass. And what you see in society is a reflection of that. And it's a way out. Is stop trying to focus on changing the world and start focusing on changing and healing yourself spiritually. And adding one more thing, one more goal. Goals are good. I work on goals and habits with clients, and some clients don't want to talk and work on spirituality. That's fine. But this is a video to give another way of looking at the self-help movement that to me is toxic, because what the carrot that is always dangled in front of our face is do something external. Take something. Love yourself. How can we love ourselves when we don't live lovable lives? It's just crazy. But at the same time, it's exciting, because as you go down this path, a whole new world opens up. And that's what the past 3 or 4 years have done to me. I was in shock at what's happened over the past 3 to 4 years, and it rattled me. And now I just am not attached like I used to be to the world and to what does or doesn't happen, in the chaos and the acrimony and the fighting and the fear mongering and the doom and gloom of what you see online. You become in a positive way, I become like an alien. I don't feel like this is home. This is a place that I have many blessings and a lot of joys. But this space that we live in is temporary. We're going to die. And we do no preparation for that, on where we're going to go, how we're going to be judged. Most people think, oh, I'm a good person. And so if you do believe in God, God's going to approve me. But you're not a good person. None of us are good people and meet God's standards. And we're all going to face God and face that judgment. And we don't do any preparation for that. People do more research on the car that they're going to buy than where they are going to spend eternity. It's insane. And even if you're an atheist and you disagree with everything I'm saying, at least research it. I mean, it's the most important investigation you'll ever do in your life. How to live in this corrupted world in a way that brings you the most, and those around you, the most love, the most joy, the most peace, the most contentment, the not running on negative energy or fear or worry or stress, like the things that I previously mentioned. But isn't that important? I think we've been so dumbed down, and we don't even read books anymore. Some people do, but most people don't read books anymore. And most people are just feeding their mind and their spirit junk, cotton candy, fast food. And we've become dumbed down. And when a population is dumbed down, it's so much easier to control. And do you want to be controlled? And most people, the greatest way to control people is to fool them to think they have freedom. It's to fool them to think they're free. It's to fool them to think that they're not being controlled. And the only standard is the one that matters, is the one that comes from above. And then that filters down, and then that filters out into your world and into your life. It's beautiful. And it's a way to have peace that you're not going to get externally or through worldliness or through reading another self-help book. Yeah, thanks for listening. If you would like coaching, please send me an email. It is in the description. And it's nice to, even if you disagree with me, at least to give it a try and explore a different way at looking at yourself and looking at life. Because what I've seen doing this for a long time is even when people become successful or get the goals or the habits, there's still an underlying spiritual malady that they're suffering from and are lost and don't know how to heal, and only pursue paths that are socially acceptable or that are pre-approved. Because I know this message is not socially acceptable. What I'm saying, it flies in the face of conventional norms, and people will judge you and judge me and laugh at me and oh, he's crazy or this, that, or the other. That's okay. When you fear God and not man, you're free. As long as you're living, in obedience. But you don't have to worry about all the people pleasing and the social anxiety and all the fears that most of us just carry around. When you look at how people interact and engage with each other, there's an underlying fear of, please like me, please accept me. I don't want to say anything truthful that is gonna get judged, or I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. No, we need honesty, and honesty and facts can hurt people's feelings. But people have been honest and presented facts or presented truth to me that hurt my feelings, but woke me up. That was the biggest blessing and the biggest gift. And if we don't surround ourselves with people that challenge us, we're going to stagnate and we're going to suffer and we're going to feel a sense of apathy about life. And that's one of the biggest goals I have as a coach, is to challenge people in a loving way. Like someone's feelings, and clients have said this, oh, you hurt my feelings, but it was exactly what I needed to hear, or I needed time to reflect and realize how what you said to me was a wake-up call, or I wish other people would be as truthful to me. And there's just a lack of integrity and honesty in the way we live, and that we just don't feel good about that because we're seeking superficial things. You just ask people, what is it that's important to you? What are your values? And don't even ask them that. Just look at how they live their lives, because people will tell you things that they think will look good in your eyes if you ask them a question like that. But look, how do you spend your time? What does your days consist of? What are your relationships like? What will your partner truthfully say about you? What will your coworkers say about you? How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like when you clock out from your job that you did a job to be proud of, that you did a job with integrity, that you were honest with people? Yeah. Just feel the energy in our environment and in our world and in our politics and in our social interactions. Something's very, very wrong. And it can oftentimes be subtle, but that's the most dangerous time of when we can get duped and headed down a wrong path if we don't wake up and realize there's more to life than meets the eyes. And I think, for my atheist clients or my agnostic clients, it takes a lot of faith to believe that we were created in this world. And you just look at our planet and the universe. It was just created out of nothing. There was no creator. It was all haphazard. It was all random. And we evolved from a blob. I mean, that takes a lot of faith than believing in a God that created us. So that's my 2 cents. And I hope that this will encourage people watching this video to say, you know what, at minimum, I need to have a balanced life with the world and my spiritual core, and strengthen my spiritual core and find truth, because it's out there. And no, not all religions lead to the same path or to the same end goal, and they're not all the same. And that's something that you have to explore on your own. And it's so liberating and exciting going down that road, that journey. All right. If you found value, please like, subscribe, share, all that usual stuff. And comment, tell me where I'm way off base, and tell me where you agree, and tell me maybe where you are in your spiritual path. And do these ideas affect your priorities and how we spend our time? I think that's the most important thing, is our life reveals what our priorities are. And I know for most people, it's not this. It's not staring at this all day, or 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. It's only escapism. It's only an addiction to numb out, and it doesn't work. Thanks for watching. Until next time. God bless. Bye-bye.